Welcome to our Dream to Rise. And I'm so honored, imagine, to have a guest with me who used to be a judge. and I and She is a burn survivor, actually, and it touched my heart. And now, here with us, making a difference in others' lives. And she was a former criminal trial attorney and Minnesota Commissioner of Corrections who rebuilt her life after a devastating plane crash. Now a nurse practitioner, imagine, with a doctorate degree in nursing. She brings a unique perspective of conversations about trauma, reinvention, and public service leadership. Without further ado, I would just like to introduce my special guest, Miss Sheryl Ramstad. Sheryl, good day to you, and I am so
Yeah.
honored to have you to be my guest, and I'm so happy that you're here, willing to share something about yourself for our listeners.
Well, it's an honor to be with you today, Cynthia, and I just wish that we could meet in person and have a friendship because I sense that there'd be a real kinship between us.
I agree, and we should remain connected, huh?
I would love I
Real.
would love it.
I would love that because it would be, this is, before we recorded this video, we have shared, and I have shared that as we grow older, it's now the connection, building relationship that is very important to me. And we even mentioned money and status and titles are now not not as important as before, but it's more about how are we able to build that relationship and turn it into friendship, and how can we collaborate, how can we support each other in pursuing our purpose in life, and that's making a difference.
Yeah, I've always believed in the Bible, which says, "To those to whom much is given, much is expected." And for me, that means giving back, and it
Mm.
means helping others and allowing them to become all that the Lord intended them to be, and to do whatever I can to help them along the way.
Yes. See, both of us, we have a mission to accomplish now, and it because God was there, planned this out, planned everything. Despite what we have gone through, He made it a way. He made it possible for us to experience it because there's something bigger planned for us. So let us start. I'm excited to hear your story. So what um what can you tell us? I mean, can you tell us something about yourself that brought you to where you are right now? Sure.
Certainly. I was 29 years old
Mhm.
and taking flying lessons because my then husband and I were going to have a lifestyle where we owned our own plane and went on vacations using that plane. So I was on my first solo flight, which is something you have to do before you get your license and before, you move further. And I was flying alone in the plane. I'd let the instructor out at the airport after I'd done two successful roundabouts, and I was to fly three times around the flight pattern, touch down each after each time, and then on the third one, I was supposed to come in and land, and he was going to be there to greet me and congratulate me on my first solo flight, and that would be the rite of passage to moving on with my aviation. Well, I did the first two successfully, no problems. And on the third touch and go, I was just cleared to come in for landing. And I was over downtown St. Paul, the state capitol, the Mississippi River, and the interstate, when all of a sudden the engine quit.
Oh
And
my.
it was dead silence. And I had 20 seconds in which to figure out what I could do, what I should do. And I knew that I didn't know if I'd survive, but I didn't want to take others on the ground with me if I did not survive. So I looked for a place, but the plane didn't glide like I thought. It just went down in about 20 seconds. On the way down, the wing was torn off by a power line, which then sprayed the cockpit and ignited the cockpit. So I was engulfed in flames, and the wing exploded.
Oh my.
So it came to a dead stop front of a tree, 20 feet from a woman who was sunbathing in her backyard in a real heavily residential area. People later said that they could feel their houses shake because of the impact of the crash. Well, once it crashed, my first instinct was to unlatch the doors so I could get out, but the doors jammed upon impact. And so there I was. I thought, I'm going to burn up in this inferno unless something happens, then I can get out. So I took all my body weight and threw it against the door that was on fire. And miraculously, again, the Lord intervened. The door popped open, and I had to climb through fire. And then, as I was getting out of the plane, somebody walked over to me and asked if there was anyone else on board. And I said, no, it was my first solo. Well, he helped me get across the street, and in front of the Catholic Church, I collapsed. And then a priest came out and gave me last rites because he thought I wasn't going to make it. Then the ambulances came, and I was transported to a burn center where I was given less than a 1% chance of surviving. My whole body was burned, my face, my arms, my legs, my back. And I had 7 major surgeries. My hand was so badly burned, you can see it's kind of wrinkled, that they were going to amputate it because they didn't think they could get skin grafts to hold. But the doctor knew that I'd been a trial lawyer. I'd been a federal prosecutor, and he said trial lawyers use their hands to speak. So he said I decided I'd slap some skin on and see if it would stick. And again, another miracle. It stuck, and I've got my hand to this day. It's a little bent and a little rigid, but I've got my hand. And so I spent the whole summer in the burn unit, about 2.5 months. And for 2 years, I was in a full body suit, um, long sleeve jacket that zipped up the front, gloves, long tights, and I had to wear that to try to keep the pressure on the burns so that they wouldn't rise up. Um, but throughout that time, I just wanted to get back to normal. I wanted to get back to the courtroom. I loved the practice of law, but I had to heal. So it took me every day going to get the use of my hands back and to be able to stand up again. I had an incision from my uh, breastbone down to my pelvis that they couldn't sew up, and so they had to leave it open. So I had to learn how to stand again, use an overhead and walk to get the grafts under my arms, to keep stretched. Otherwise, I would have had atrophy set in and I wouldn't have been able to lift my arms. So, but when I was in the burn unit, there was, I'd been training for a marathon that morning of my crash, and by night I was fighting for my survival. I'd been running regularly, getting ready for this marathon, and the week before my crash, I'd been in a race. So somebody sent me a picture of myself in this race that my parents put next to my bed. And a nurse came in and she said, who's that? And I said, that's me. I was training for a marathon. She said, in 2 years, you'll be running a marathon and I'll be there at the finish line to cheer you on. Well, again, a miracle. A year and 10 months later, in my full body suit, I was out there in hot weather running 26.2 miles.
Wow.
Oh, that dream. And from then on, it was not asking why me, but what next. After that, I ran 2 more marathons, and then I was back at work full time. I became a judge, and then my career involved later becoming a member of the governor's cabinet and serving as commissioner of corrections, which meant that I ran all the prisons in Minnesota and was in charge of the community corrections. And while there, I was able to open the first faith-based prison in Minnesota. And to this day, it's
Wow.
still open and it's a national model. I'm very pleased that it's done so well, and it's changed lives from hearts of stone to hearts of flesh. So that's been very gratifying. And that then I was a judge for 14 years. And while I was sitting full time as a judge, I thought it was important to be able to give back to burn survivors. And so I started taking prerequisites for nursing as a second degree. Well, nobody goes from being a judge to being a nurse, but I felt led to do that. I felt like it was the Lord leading me. So one at a time, over a 4-year time period, I took prerequisites for nursing as a second career. And when I got accepted, I resigned my judgeship. I didn't tell anybody why, because I didn't want anybody to try to talk me out of it. I knew why I was going. I felt really led. And so I resigned my judgeship and went back to school full time. That was in 2012. And I got my master's in nursing as a second career. And then I went on and got my doctorate. And
Mhm.
while I was working in my doctorate program, I went back to the very burn unit where I had been a patient. And that was really gratifying to be able to give back to those people who were where I once was. It was hard, it was tough. It was difficult to see people and their families suffering as I had done, but it also was very gratifying to be able to encourage them. And to this day, I still stay in touch with some of those people and encourage them as best I can.
Very wonderful, lovely story, beautiful. And imagine there's really no age, right? After when to start again to recreate your life. Imagine you've been a judge for 14 years and suddenly I'm sure that's already the age we're in. We're about to retire sometimes. Uh, and then here comes again God's calling that you have more to do for for me to accomplish my plan here on earth. And you were asked by God to be that instrument, to be an instrument to fulfill his plan for those who were burned. I don't think it's just only people who got burned that you're doing this. It's for other people as well to give them hope and give them have a stronger faith in God that there's really a beautiful plan, a beautiful what's this life planned for you by God. Wonderful. See,
Well, you mentioned my age. A funny story, Cynthia.
I was trying to avoid.
Well, I was 62 when I started back to college,
Wow.
and I was paying tuition, and I thought, this is going to be kind of steep going into debt at this point in my life. Well, I'd gone to school for 3 semesters when I learned there was a senior citizen discount. And
Wow. See?
if you're 62 in the university system in Minnesota, you get to go to any college or university in the state system for $10 a credit. And what that meant to me, I had somebody, again, the Lord intervened, and I had somebody who advocated for me. The university gave me back $22,000
Wow.
because that was all covered by this senior citizen discount. And since that time, I've told many people who think that they're too old that you're never too old. There's opportunities as long as you are alive and breathing and have the Lord as your guide to help you figure out what impact you can make in this world and how you can help other people in their journeys.
Cheryl, that's manifestations, right? So do you really believe in manifestations?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And now you ask how I'm doing at this point in my life. I'm in my 70s, and I just um, joined the parole board, the first parole board in Minnesota. The governor appointed me to one of 5 positions on the parole board. So I sit and with the other 4, decide when people who've committed first-degree murder are eligible to be released back into the community. So it's, again, my way of giving back. And I also agreed to serve as a guardian ad litem for children who have no advocate, who are either caught in a divorce situation where their parents are struggling, and um, they're the conduit through which parents try to get back at each other, or children in the juvenile system. And again, I just want to be able to help those young people see that there is a life to look forward to. And so I think being a guardian ad litem and serving as their advocate in the court system will be a way to help me do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you're doing this on top of what you're doing as a nurse?
Well, I went, when I finished my doctorate, I went into senior management at our Safety Net Hospital in Minnesota, Safety Net healthcare system called Hennepin Healthcare. And I was one of 10 who ran the whole system. And I spent a couple of years there. And then I went into teaching as a nursing professor, thinking I could help
Wow.
younger people, help those coming behind me, and looking for ways to give back in the nursing profession. So I did that in 3 different nursing schools. And then about 2 years ago, I ended up, my husband's disabled, and I ended up needing to spend more and more time taking him to clinic appointments. And so that's when I began writing my book. And that's where
That's
I
what's
wrote
your
my
book?
book, Living Life Full Throttle. And
Wow.
the whole premise of the book is to give other people encouragement, support, um, to inspire them to look beyond their current circumstances and try to discern what the Lord has in mind for them next, what their contribution can be, regardless of what adversity they've overcome.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's the thing, no? I'm before we have very limited time left, right? And the only thing that we can do is make use of the time wisely and leave our legacy and see how this could impact the younger generation. I've heard about what's this elder a lot of elders who had regrets in life when they were already bedridden. First, they were not able to enjoy their life because during our time, I'm a baby boomer as well. We focus on save, 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 work, work, work for the family security. But did they have that opportunity to really enjoy their life with family and friends? And then another one is um, unable to to make closures with family members. Another one is they were not able to leave a legacy. So this is one thing that we should encourage our listeners. While you still have that life or that time, all of us are given the same time in life. But how are we using it wisely to make sure that we are living our purpose and living the God's plan for us, fulfilling God's plan for us?
I
And
couldn't agree with you more. My motto has always been no regrets. I want no regrets. And so when I was given an opportunity to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to train for it,
wow,
to raise money for a program to send books to children in Africa who didn't have any, I said, I don't, I haven't hiked, haven't trained for it, but I trained. I put bricks in a backpack, and I climbed flights of stairs and hills and
Wow.
was able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro and raise money for children who had no books over in Africa. And it doesn't stop at our immediate surroundings. I've done a lot of medical mission work. One of my things that I was able to do when I was working on my doctorate is work with the Pediatric Burn Center in Lima, Peru. And when I went over there on a mission trip, I discovered that they had none of these garments that had been the standard of care in the US since 1970. And they had none in that country. And so I set my mind on helping them get them. And I went to vendors in our country. I went to the American Burn Association and I got patterns for them. I got material, and then they invested in some industrial sewing machines. And now each child who leaves the Pediatric Burn Center in Lima, Peru, has 2 sets of garments so that they will end up with smooth skin instead of rough skin. And it's life-changing. It's really life-changing for those children to have the opportunity to go past their burns and wear those garments.
Mhm. May I ask you, that's wonderful. What is for you the main reason that empowers you to move to do this for others? What is it that gives you that power, that fire to
Well,
do
as I
more
mentioned,
of this volunteer and fulfill what you're trying to fulfill in life now?
as I mentioned before, the Bible says to those to whom much is given, much is expected. And I feel that I was given my life back.
Mhm.
And that is why I am committed to doing anything and everything I can to help others so that I have no regrets. I'm very grateful. The Lord was my co-pilot, and there's no two ways about it. Had it not been for the miracle of his hand and his healing, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have lived beyond age 29. And as a result, I've had 40 years of life. And I've tried to fill those 40 years as best I can, reaching out, helping others, and inspiring others to believe that you can overcome adversity and ask, instead of asking, why me, ask, what next? What next is in store for me? That's the important question to ask. Focus on what you can do to help others.
Yes. The question that I would all when someone asks me, why you? Why you? And then I would ask them, why not me?
Exactly.
I would give that back to them, pass it on back to them. So now, given what's now your plan for the next 12 months?
Well, I just was invited to become a member of the FBI Citizens Academy to learn more about our law enforcement in this country from the inside. It's an honor to be included with this group. And I think, again, there's a reason that I was given this opportunity. So I'll begin that in September. I'm
Mhm.
going to begin working as a guardian ad litem, go through the training for that September 24th. I'll be given at least one case to begin with, and I'm going to put my heart and soul into helping that young person be the best advocate for them I can be. I'm very committed to my family. I have 6 grandchildren. I just
Wow.
got back from taking my youngest and her family to San Diego to the zoo where we spent a day watching the pandas, and it brought me such joy. And the end of August, I'm going out to be with my daughter in Boston, who has 2 children. I was at my son's in Denver for his daughter's fifth birthday. And so I really am committed to being the best role model for my grandchildren and to giving them all the love I can. I send each of them letters almost every week And I don't always include a dollar bill so that they have to open the letter to see if it's one, because I don't want them to take it for granted. But I get letters back. I get letters
Oh,
back.
really? Oh, good.
They're learning how to write. I got them each stationery and I sent them stamps. And so it's a process. You become committed to making sure that you do grow where you are planted is a saying I like. Just grow where you are planted. And if it's your family, if it's your community, if it's others, I volunteer in our condominium building. We have an outreach, and I've gone to feed my starving children and pack bags of food to send around the world. And I just look for opportunities to be of service to others.
I'm so glad that you focus on volunteering as well. And of course, family is the most important, no? Because what you share to your family, what you're being the model of your family, especially to your grandchildren. And being a grandmom as well, I have two grandkids, 2 years old and 8 months. It's still very young, toddlers, but it's for me, it's the best gift I've ever had in my life to see my grandchildren and grow, be with them, grow with them. And I've learned also a lot of things from my children and grandchildren. Most of the time, being in a baby boomer, we were raised to, okay, follow what I want you to do by our parents, no? But now I've learned that, we have to make some adjustments. History, it's not the same as before when you deal with your children. You need to be more open, be more, be an active listener, and see how, what are they going through as well, and then be there for them to support them.
And they give feedback. They don't always, they usually don't say thank you or give you feedback in a verbal way. But I was at my daughter's in Boston when her 11-year-old came in from school, and she'd had sharing. And I said, "What did you share?" And she said, "Your book." She
Oh,
shared that with her class. So that was her way of saying, I wanted my classmates and my teacher to know. And
wonderful.
I just thought, even though she doesn't say it, it makes an impression. And that you mentioned a legacy, that was really one of the reasons for writing the book, was to give my children who've said, my grandchildren who've said, "Grammy, your hand is wrinkled. Why?" And I tell them I was in a plane crash and I don't want to scare them so that they're afraid to fly.
Mhm.
But I thought at some point, someday, I think it's important that they understand what happened to me and how it affected my life and what I chose to do as a result of that. And I hope it will inspire them to look past any adversity of any sort and look at what is left for them to do and look to the Lord for guidance and help in trying to figure that out.
Exactly. And that's why we're here, sharing our story for them to listen. Keep repeating it. Let them listen to it several times so it gets instilled in their mind, because sometimes, like me, I wrote books as well because that's one way for my children and grandchildren to, when I'm gone, there I could still live in their hearts. And that's what we want to do also. We
And
are always there.
I'm a firm believer that it's not do what I say, it's do what I do, because the way we live our lives gives a message that's so much louder and so much stronger and so much more influential with our grandchildren than what we tell them to do or what we tell them they ought to do.
Mhm. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, before we we end this, I would just like to ask one piece of advice you would like to give for your younger self. And that would also apply to the listeners. If you were to, I mean, what advice would, if you were young, still young, what advice will you give yourself?
Never give up. Never say never. When adversity comes your way, don't ask why me. Focus on what's next and try to do what you can with what you've been given to follow the Lord's lead.
Wonderful, amazing. My dear friends, my dear listeners, see the story of Sheryl, and I'm sure you were able to get a lot of wonderful insights from Sheryl, and I'm truly glad that we got connected. Thank you, Olivia, who, who reached out to me, and I'm so grateful that this is the start of us building a relationship, Cheryl. And I admire you. And up to now, at this stage, you can still continue to volunteer, to give back, and make a difference in this world. And again, the title of her book is Living Life Full, what's that? Full Throttle, and it's available in Amazon, right?
Right. And Barnes and Noble, and the subtitle is Surviving, Serving, and Summiting. Surviving the plane crash, serving in any capacity that I can and that the Lord leads me, and summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, which was a way of giving back.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, how will they be able to get in touch with you, our listeners? Connect.
I can be reached through Sheryl Ramstad author at gmail.com. I
How
have
would
a
you spell? Let us spell it again.
sure. SherylamstadAuthor And my personal email, if anybody would like it, is gavelgirl, as in judge's gavel, GAV as in Victor, ELGIRL, the number one, at AOL.com.
Wonderful. Do you have any other platforms in social media wherein they can connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and as you and I talked before the program began, I'm in the generation that wasn't so comfortable with some of these things like, yeah,
Because when I share this when I start with I mean when I share this episode, I usually tag my guest, so I don't know how I could share this with you, probably by email.
that
And
would that would be wonderful. I would appreciate that. And let me give you my phone number in case you want to connect by phone or text me. I'd love it. I would welcome it. My phone number is 612
uh-huh
386
uh-huh
5359.
5359.
And I would love to stay in touch with you, Cynthia. You're just doing such wonderful things, and you're such an inspiration to so many. It's been such a privilege to have this opportunity to get to know you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And you're such a wonderful human being who's always there for others. And this is what I'm truly grateful that we got connected. And
Yeah,
these are the guest speakers that I would love to have. And if we just form together and be that light, be the light warriors for others, I'm sure light will be spreading like fire, and peace, love, compassion, kindness will just prevail here on earth. That's what I want to see here on earth. With a lot of negativity, a lot of noises, I just want to see life being full of love. And that's sharing God's love for others, using us as instrument.
Don't lose hope, right?
Yes, yes. So thank you so much for being here with me, Cheryl, and I wish you all the best. And yes, let's get connected, okay?
I'll wait to hear from you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you. And for our listeners, thank you so much for being here. Till our next episode at Dream to Rise. Bye.